Living for Your Brain and Body, Tips from the Latest Research. I'm Mike Bias with the Alzheimer's Association, coming to you from Illinois. And before I introduce our guest speaker today, I'd like to give you a few tips as to how you can get the most out of this webinar. Now, obviously, on the left-hand side of your screen is the PowerPoint presentation where you'll be seeing the information and the videos from today. But directly below our web cams is a Program Notes pod. Now, in that Program Notes pod is the Healthy Living for Your Brain and Body workbook, which you can click on and download, and you can either follow along during the presentation or afterwards. It's okay either way. Now, that's only if you're joining us live. If you're viewing this as a recording, you can click all you want there, but nothing will happen. That's okay. You can still download the workbook at alzwebinars.org. That workbook link will be just below the link for the recording that you click to watch this on a recording. So all the way at the bottom is the Q&A pod. Now the Q&A pod is where you can type in comments or questions for our presenter, which we will address towards the end of our time together. If you'd like to know, though, it is confidential. No one else, other than us, can see your name or your questions. So just myself and our presenter will be able to see that. If you have any questions, just go right ahead and type them in the Q&A pod. And just to make sure, we've got people from all over the United States registered for today's webinar, and I'd love to know where you're logging on from live. So if you're with us live, go ahead in the Q&A pod and just type in your zip code. So that way we know that if you're from Illinois or Florida, North Carolina, we have people from Colorado. We have 01 zip codes, which is the East Coast up in New England. Great, I see several zip codes coming through. Awesome. So now that we know that you know how to use the chat pod, for those of you who are joining us live, I'd like to introduce our guest speaker today. Directly below me there is Joe Landmichael. Now, Joe is a manager of community education and volunteers for the Alzheimer's Association Illinois chapter. Joe's job is to take care of the northern part of Illinois with respect to education and outreach. So, as a community educator and a supervisor of volunteers, Joe's job is to blanket the community with programs like this to let people know how to improve the quality of their life if they're living with Alzheimer's, and in the case of today's presentation, what does science say about brain health? So with that, I'm going to turn off my webcam, and I'll let Joe take it away.
Thank you, Mike. And once again, welcome everybody to the Alzheimer's Association's Healthy Living for Your Brain and Body, Tips from the Latest Research Program. I definitely want to take this time, though, to thank you all for taking the time because, as Mike said, we have people from all around the country joining us today to learn a little bit more about ways to be healthy based on research. Now, this program is designed to offer you research-based recommendations about taking care of your brains and your bodies in order to age as well as possible. Now, by the end of the program, we are going to give you lists of strategies to help you age well in the following areas: through cognitive activity, physical health and exercise, diet and nutrition, and social engagement. Now, as Mike said, if you get a moment, go ahead and download that Healthy Living for Your Brain and Body workbook. But the key is, throughout all of today's presentation, remember, everybody is an individual. So you're going to need to make your own plan based on what works best for you. Throughout the course of the program, you will be able to view short videos of experts in the field of aging and people who are finding ways to make small changes that add up and help them age as well as possible. Let's start out by talking about the factors that contribute to how human beings age. There are some ways in which we age that we all have in common, and many of these are definitely outside of our control. As older adults, for example, our hair typically turns gray. And yes, I may look young, but trust me, they're there. Our skin wrinkles, and our eyes tend to focus less effectively while reading. As individuals, though, we each age somewhat differently, and how this takes place depends in part on our genes. We each are genetically predisposed to age in certain ways. For example, some families tend to live a long time, age well into their 90s, or even longer. Other families tend to develop diseases that may limit their lifespan. These things are well beyond our control. However, there are many aspects of aging over which we do have some degree of control. These aspects of aging include the lifestyle or environmental factors associated with how we age. Even in families with genetic predispositions towards particular conditions, there are lifestyle and environmental interventions that may alter the course of those conditions significantly. We can start by adapting habits to potentially improve our overall health, and these habits may help our bodies and our brains age well. So the key is, again, lifestyle choices may help our body, and you're going to learn a little bit more about this as we continue on the presentation. Now, let's talk a bit about the brain and how it works. The brain controls all of our bodily functions, including thought and movement. It is the control center for the entire body. In fact, did you know that there are approximately 100 billion, yes, you heard that right, billion with a B, nerve cells called neurons in the brain? Now, these are structured kind of like branches of a tree. They create a network of pathways through which electrochemical signals are sent to form thoughts, feelings, and memories. Now, when it comes to Alzheimer's disease progressively destroys brain cells as it moves throughout the brain, affecting more functions as it progresses. Now, we have known for years that the body and the brain are connected. And what is good for the body is good for the brain. Now, science is able to tell us why this is true and what we can do to maximize our health. Much of the body's brain connection is due to the fact that the brain is nourished by the body's richest network of blood vessels. The oxygen and other elements delivered to the brain through the bloodstream keep the brain nourished. In fact, did you know, each time your heart beats, 25% of the blood being moved goes to the brain? This is why keeping the body in good working order helps the brain fuel and do its work. Now, give me just a minute to get to the next slide here. All right, so there are many benefits to aging. If you ask someone who is over the age of 50 or even 60, you may hear them discuss of increased feelings of comfort with the person they're becoming and less concerned about the opinions or criticism of others. Now, I know this to be true. Those in their 70s and 80s may even talk about the wisdom that comes with life's experience and the appreciation for this perspective. As we age, there are changes that take place in our bodies and our brains. Many of these are to be expected as typical age-related changes, such as some decline in ways our brain processes information. In addition, however, there are some diseases that are more common as we age, and some of these impact brain function. Now, Alzheimer's disease and other dementias result when the brain is compromised in some specific way. Currently, there is no proven method to prevent, cure, or even slow the progression of Alzheimer's disease. However, there are habits, though, that help maintain or potentially improve overall health as we age. These habits may also help keep your brain healthy as you age. Although this program isn't specifically about issues related to Alzheimer's disease or dementia, it's helpful to know some basic information about these conditions to understand how they relate to healthy aging and what we can do to help our brains and our bodies age as well as possible. Now, dementia is a general term that is caused by many different diseases, each with different symptoms. The symptoms of all these diseases have one thing in common. They compromise the way the brain works and cause a decline in memory or other brain functions that are noticeable enough to affect everyday life. Now, although dementia and the diseases under the umbrella term are associated with aging, they are not, and I want to repeat, they are not a normal part of aging. If they were, everyone would develop them as they age, and we know that this is just not the case. Now, Alzheimer's disease is the most common form of dementia, accounting for 60 to 80% of all cases. Some of the risk factors for Alzheimer's include age, genetics, head injury, cardiovascular factors, and fewer years of formal education. We will discuss some of these risks in more detail later in the program. Now, there are some therapies that have been developed to help treat symptoms of the disease, and these are effective in some people for a limited period of time. However, they do not slow the progression of the disease, and remember, as I mentioned earlier, everybody is an individual. So today, we are going to look at 4 areas on aspects of healthy aging. These areas are physical health and exercise, diet and nutrition, cognitive activity, and social engagement. We'll look at what most research tells us about the changes that we can make in each of these areas and how that will overall benefit our bodies and brains as we age. As we touch on each area, I want you to do something today. I want you to think about how you can apply this research to your own very life. So consider, how can you do what you enjoy? And we're going to say this over and over again, that if you don't do something you enjoy, you're probably not going to keep up with it. How can you make gradual changes? And how can you start now? Not tomorrow, not next week. How can you start now, regardless of your age? Whenever possible, think about how you can make changes that affect more than one area at once, because the more we can do, the better the health benefits for our habits are going to become. So, let's go ahead and let's start exploring with physical health and exercise. There is quite a bit of research in the area of how physical activity affects the brain. Now, many studies indicate that engaging in physical activity is associated with lowering risk of cognitive decline. So many researchers say that if people had to choose one thing, what do you think that is? Well, the answer is simple, not easy to hear, but it should be exercise. Yes, you heard that right. One thing we should change for brain functionality is exercise. Some evidence suggests that exercise may directly benefit brain cells by increasing blood and oxygen flow, and by reducing other dementia risk factors, such as high blood pressure, diabetes, and high cholesterol. However, there's no single recipe for what may work best. Most researchers believe exercise should be regular and on the more vigorous side. But other studies have shown simple benefits from just mild activity, such as walking. So next we're going to take a look at a video by a gentleman by the name of Woodley, who's going to describe how he developed a new habit.
It's surprising how you can easily build up habits of just taking 15 to 20 minutes out of your day to go down, hit the treadmill, and just do it. Just do it. Just get on it, put my headphones on, and just walk at a nice brisk pace for myself, build up a quick heartbeat, quick sweat, and it's amazing how quickly I can go from 15 minutes to 20 minutes, and then over time 30 minutes, and over time 40 minutes. Before you know it, you're up to 45 minutes of walking, and even at a higher incline and also at a higher pace. And again, it's all about incorporating habits in the choices that we make.
So, as Woodley says, just do it. Develop a new habit can be surprisingly come quickly. And I know for a fact in myself, about 2 weeks ago, I decided to move on to dropping weight and getting healthier. So I too started on the treadmill, not my favorite thing to do, but I started with 10 minutes. And up until last week, I got myself up to 30 minutes. It does happen quickly, but you just need to do it and enjoy it. So progress comes with choosing to stick with the new behavior. Creating an exercise habit can begin with just 10 to 15 minutes a day of activity, all of which are beneficial. Now, the most important recommendation is to be as active as you can. Everybody's going to be different in their activity. and to incorporate activity that you enjoy. Yes, you heard that right. You must enjoy it, because if you don't, you're not going to be able to continue to engage in it. If this is new for you, start off small. We're not expecting you to go run a 5K tomorrow. Start off small. Walk around your neighborhood a few times a week. Take the stairs more often. Or a simple thing you can do is next time you go to the store, park several more spots away, adding in those extra steps. The little changes you make add up, and research shows that even 20 to 30 minutes of walking a few times a week can have big health benefits. Now, you got to get your heart rate up. And so how do you do that? Well, we recommend participate in cardiovascular activity regularly. This includes increasing your blood flow to your brain and your body, providing additional nourishment. Research has shown that most people, any additional movement is a positive change that can have an impact on your overall health. Now, one of the things though is, as you're starting to add these new exercises, we can't stress enough, you need to move safely. You need to move in a way to prevent injury. So for instance, if you're going to be going for a bike ride, wear a helmet. You always need to wear protective gear when you are doing activities that require it. And keep in mind, you may look stupid, but guess what? That's okay, because your brain and your head will thank you for it later. Now, ask friends to join you. This way, you can make it social, which is a benefit in itself to your brain and body. And getting support from others is going to be a way to guarantee that your routine continues. And consider physical activities that may also be mentally or socially engaging, such as a dance class, joining an exercise group, or just engaging in a challenging sport of golf or tennis. But before you do all this, make sure you check with your doctor that your exercise regimen is going to be safe and good for you. And finally, remember that it's never too late or too early to start. No matter when you start, your body and brain can still reap the benefits. Now, studies have found that smoking increases the risk of cognitive decline and may increase the risk of dementia. So we highly recommend that you stop smoking. And additional benefits to stopping smoking include a lower risk of heart attacks, stroke, and lung disease, creating better blood circulation and avoiding exposing others to secondhand smoke. And alcohol. Avoid excessive alcohol drinking. Alcohol has many effects. Although a glass or two of red wine is commonly thought to have health benefits, but I can't stress enough, you shouldn't start drinking if you haven't already done so. Also, excessive drinking of alcohol has some serious negative consequences, which include slow or impaired communication amongst brain cells, fuzzy memory and drowsiness, long-term changes in balance, memory, emotions, coordination, and body temperature. And this can be a big contributor to falls and fall-related injuries in older adults. Sleep. Everybody says it. You need to get enough sleep. Inadequate sleep due to conditions like insomnia or sleep apnea can cause problems with memory and thinking. And as I mentioned earlier, you need to avoid any injury to your head. Head injuries and falls can contribute to physical and cognitive difficulties. So be sure to wear a helmet when riding a bicycle or playing sports that could involve a head injury. Again, you may look silly, but guess what? Safety comes first. Now, studies have found that regular physical activity decreases stress and increases your ability to manage stress and lead to better overall mood. Monitor your level of stress. Take action to minimize it and seek professional assistance to address anxiety, depression, or other mental health concerns. And be sure to have and be sure that you keep your doctors informed along the way. The best thing you can do is find a physician you trust and visit him or her on a regular basis. Follow up on any of their recommendations. This is one of the best things you can do to maximize your health as you age. Now, growing evidence suggests that many factors that will increase risk of heart disease and stroke may also increase the risk of dementia. These include high blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, and possibly high cholesterol. Although there is good research being done in this area, more is still needed. But here's what we know now. Research has shown an increase in the risk of cognitive decline and dementia among individuals with diabetes. Although diabetes has not been shown to cause Alzheimer's disease, there is a relationship between those who have diabetes and those who get dementia. Studies have also found that midlife obesity may be associated with an increased risk of dementia. Research done on treatments to reduce midlife hypertension suggests that may also reduce the risk of cognitive decline. And studies have shown mixed results for the relationship between high cholesterol and dementia. Again, I want to repeat, studies have shown mixed results for the relationship between high cholesterol and dementia. We do know that a good cholesterol level is good for the heart. And what's good for the heart is good for the brain. The best way to combat these health concerns is to get your cardiovascular factors mentioned above tested regularly and with your doctor to understand what the results mean for your overall health. Be aware of changes from previous levels to help determine whether changes are needed to help you stay healthy. So, let's start to explore our next area, which is diet and nutrition. Again, we know that a healthy fuel of the body benefits brain functionality. But there are many different options about what is the best way to eat to maximize health. Research in the area of the relationship between diet and cognitive functioning is somewhat limited, but it does point to benefits of two diets in particular. The DASH diet, which is the dietary approaches to stop hypertension, and the Mediterranean diet. These are just two of many diets out there. So, by following some dietary guidelines and talking with your doctor, you can reduce your risk factor of heart disease, cancer, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's disease, stroke, and diabetes. So let's take a moment to watch Dr. Martha Claire Morris as she talks about a diet that has shown to help people age in healthy ways.
Foods that have been shown to lead to healthy aging would be fruits and vegetables, and in particular green leafy vegetables and berries, as well as limited intake of high-fat food items that you get through high-fat dairy and cheese and red meats, and also healthy vegetable oils. So this would be olive oil would be a good example, have been shown to reduce your risk of heart disease as well as dementia.
So just to recap, science has shown that there are foods that can help you age well. There are specific diets that can help you reduce your risk of heart disease and may also be able to help reduce your risk of dementia. There are some simple ways to adapt a healthy diet that may benefit your body and your brain. Now, we all probably know this, but it is a good reminder. On the slide, you can see suggestions that incorporate the principles from both the DASH and Mediterranean diet. And they include to incorporate vegetables in your daily diet. Eating green leafy vegetables has been shown to have health benefits. Eating a diet rich in fruits, some studies indicate that certain fruits, such as berries, may be particularly helpful. Eat nuts, beans, and whole grains. Eat lean meats, fish, and poultry. And choose foods containing polyunsaturated and monounsaturated fats. Pretty big words, but basically are found in nuts, vegetable oils, and fish. And aim for a diet low in saturated and trans fats. Stay away from processed foods. deep fried foods, and excess sugar and salt. And trust me, I know, I love them too. But slowly we have to incorporate getting them out of our diet. Now, a healthy diet will help increase your intake in important vitamins. So vitamins are key. Some research has shown that vitamins, such as vitamin E or vitamin E and C together, vitamin B12 and folate, may lower your risk of cognitive decline and possibly Alzheimer's. This research has resulted in some suggestions that taking dietary supplements will lower your risk. Now, we can't stress this enough. Dietary supplements or medical foods are made for those with nutritional deficiencies and are to be used only under the supervision of your physician. Labels for medical foods or supplements can make drug claims or state that they alleviate symptoms of disease because they are not drugs as defined by the US FDA. Many are created with little to no regulation and may be potentially dangerous, so beware of false claims. It is key. The best way to understand and address how to care for yourself is best to be done with your physician. Work with a trusted doctor who understands your physical issues well. He or she can provide the best advice about how a medication, vitamins, and other dietary supplements may interact in your body. It is important to discuss any changes in medication or adding of vitamins with your doctor. Now, let's look at research in the area of cognitive activity. Cognitive activity is the term used for keeping our minds active. Anything that uses your mind in challenging ways is a cognitive activity and can possibly have short or long-term benefits for your brain. As you use your mind in new and challenging ways, your brain actually begins to form and nourish new pathways for connections among brain cells. The more pathways you have, the more nimble your brain is, and the better able you are to guard against the effects of injury or diseases that may compromise brain functionality. Now, studies have been done in which some people are engaged in cognitive activity by playing games or reading materials that were challenging for them. Yes, you heard that right, that were challenging for them. Now, again, it's not easy. You don't really always want to be challenged, but in the case of the brain, this is great. Those who kept their brains active in these ways could recall information that was recently learned and remember it later to a much greater degree than those that did not keep their minds stimulated through mental activity. However, we do not know all the reasons why staying cognitively engaged may be beneficial. More research is taking place today to further explore those questions. Now, research has shown that engaging in formal education, classroom-based learning administered by a professionally trained teacher in any stage of life will help keep your brain healthy and can protect your brain from developing dementia. Some researchers believe that this may be due to education creating a more robust network of communication pathways between the neurons and the brain. Others believe the difference has more to do with education levels being related to socioeconomical factors, which are correlated with risk for disease in general and access to care. So in the next video, we're going to watch Dr. David Bennett, who's the director of the Rush Alzheimer's Disease Center in Chicago, as he talks about research in the area of cognitive activity.
One of the most interesting factors is cognitive stimulating activities, which basically for us just means mental processing of information. It can be from a book, it can be from the radio, it can be a magazine, it can be from a lecture, it can actually be from watching TV. All of these things require processing information. And the old adage of, use it or lose it is actually something that turns out, at least from the observational data, to look like it's true. So numerous studies now have shown that being more engaged in cognitively stimulating activities is actually good for maintaining cognition. And it's true in late life, and it's true in early life. And so what we recommend is that you start early, and if you're already late, start now.
So, to recap, Dr. Bennett, cognitive stimulation has a positive effect on maintaining cognitive abilities throughout your entire life. It's important to incorporate cognitive stimulation in your life, regardless of your current age. So, you're probably asking yourself, all right, how can we exercise our brains and keep our minds active? Well, you can see some ideas on this slide. Participate in mentally stimulating activities. So, go build a piece of furniture. Try a new cooking technique. Or create something artistic. As you can see behind me, that painting may look like a bunch of colors, but that's what we want you to do, is go out and create something artistic using your brain. Read books and articles that challenge you and inspire you. Focus on topics of interest that provide you with new learning or something you already know to just add to your knowledge. And complete puzzles and games that are challenging for you. So again, we don't really like to be stumped, but this goes beyond jigsaw and crossword puzzles that you find easy. We want you to get stumped. Here we're talking about solving a problem that has you stumped or figuring out ways to approach a familiar task in a more effective way. So chess, for instance, requires that you think steps ahead and make plans for adapting to change. These are all great ways to help stimulate your brain. Now, you can also learn new skills or hobbies, because by learning something new that interests you and that you find enjoyable, you may want to learn to play a new instrument or take up a new hobby or do some watercolor. And as we mentioned, try playing chess. Engage in ongoing learning. So seek new opportunities for formal education. This could involve taking a class at a local college or community center that teaches about new topics, skills, or new hobbies. And encourage and help your children or grandchildren to get as much formal education as possible. And next time your grandchild's over, ask them to explain what they're doing and try to pick up some of those skills that they're learning in class. And lastly, you can join a club focused on common interests. This has a double benefit. You will keep your mind active while engaging in social interaction. So the final area that we will take a look at is social engagement. Now, I do want to stress that this is the area with the least amount of research. However, there is some research that indicates that connecting with others socially may benefit brain health and may actually delay the onset of dementia. Those who are engaged with other people also tend to have reduced rates of mortality and disability. Now, researchers aren't sure how, why, or if social networks may help keep the brain resilient against Alzheimer's disease. But some scientists say that the traits that enable people to build and maintain friendships acts as a buffer against cognitive impairment. Regardless of the reason, we know people don't do well in isolation. When people are feeling good about their social networks, they tend to make healthier choices in other areas of their life. And I can gladly say that when I hang out with people, I am more likely to choose a nice healthy salad over something fried. So I know in my case, it certainly works to have that social engagement. Now, staying socially active may be important in maintaining your overall health. You can engage with others without any financial cost. When you can, choose social activities that have a cognitive or physical component as well, so you can enhance the benefit from those activities. So some things that we suggest is getting together with your family. But we want you to get together with your family and friends on a regular basis. Meet new people and form new friendships. Be active in your community. Volunteer at a local library or community center. There are lots of nonprofits out in the community that certainly could use your help. You could take a class, or you could join a local walking or book club. These are all great opportunities to help you move. Now, you're probably asking yourself, how does all of this come together? So let's put all the pieces together. Each of the 4 components we explored has potential benefits for physical and cognitive health. Recent research, however, suggests that by combining all 4 areas may have the greatest benefit in maintaining or improving brain health. So we're going to watch another video that talks about a recent study that is making a difference in what scientists are able to tell us about healthy aging. Looks like we have a little bit.
Recently, at the Alzheimer's Association International Conference, there was a study reported of the results of a large clinical trial that was done in the Scandinavian countries. And in this trial, they took half the people in the trial and they adjusted their exercise level, their diet, their social engagement, and their mental stimulation. They developed programs for each one of those variables, changed all of those for the people that were in the test group, and the control group just lived as they had been. There is a tremendous benefit to doing studies where we make changes and observe after the fact. That's a much stronger study than just observing people and trying to make judgments after life has changed for them. To my mind, one of the things that this has done is it's changed the force of recommendation that we might make around the benefit of these interventions for prevention of Alzheimer's disease or for brain health. And the fact is that I think it's moved it from possibly exercise, diet adjustments, social engagement, mental stimulation are useful to probably. And that's a big change and makes it easier for people to make those kinds of adjustments for the benefit of their future health.
So again, to recap, this study in Scandinavia tells us that when exercise, diet, social engagement, and mental stimulation levels were increased to a prescribed level, fewer participants experienced cognitive decline. Scientists are now moving towards saying that these interventions may make a difference. With more evidence emerging, they are able to say that they probably do, and a major shift in messaging that reflects that research. So we need to take a holistic approach to wellness as we age. So consider your health across many components, including the physical, intellectual, social, spiritual, emotional, and vocational areas of your life. You can make simple changes that have a cumulative effect, helping you live as well as possible. So what do we got to do? Well, begin today. It's never too late or too early to start living a more healthy way. Start small and build. Again, you're not expected to go run a 5K tomorrow. You need to start small. Pick one area to start with and expand from there. And take your changes step by step. Go small and go slow. And do what you enjoy. Because again, if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to stick with it. The more you enjoy the activity you've chosen, the more likely that you will follow up on your plan. Do something that you can manage in the time you have available now. Because remember, time is precious, and do what's available now, even if it's only 5 minutes. Make healthier choices through exercise, eating a nutritious diet, and reducing stress as much as possible. And this all comes by making a plan. Use the workbook that, again, you can download to document your plan. Keep track of your progress, as well as obstacles that may hold you back and ways to overcome them. And I can't stress this enough, reward yourself for small changes and overall progress. One day I was very disappointed that I only lost a half pound that week. And my weight coach actually told me, Joe, you need to remember that that half pound is 2 sticks of butter. Thinking about it in that context really helped me get over to say, yeah, I did do it. So reward yourself for small changes and your progress. And get support from others. Let other people know about the changes you are making, because they will then engage in activities that will help you along, and they're going to help celebrate your victories. And like anything, you gotta have fun. Having fun makes sure that these activities are more enjoyable, and they're rewarding for your success. So what we need to look at, though, is everybody's going to want to find that way to get there. And aging can present health-related challenges that can take an emotional, financial, and physical toll. But you can find many products on the market with medical or health-related claims that have been backed up by inaccurate or misleading research. These products and services may be expensive or time-consuming and can cause false hope in users. Some may actually be dangerous to your health. So with that being said, there is no easy path. You have to start off small. If it's too good to be true, it's probably not true. And you have to be cautious when you hear huge promises or reports of miracle cures. Do your thorough research and consult with trusted, reputable professionals, your doctor, your pharmacist, or by even calling the Alzheimer's Association. But you have to do your research and be diligent. With that being said, I'm now going to give it up to Mike, who's going to give you some more resources that you can use.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Joe. I appreciate your great presentation of all of the healthy habits for healthy living. Some resources that you need to be aware of with the Alzheimer's Association. Well, first of all, the Alzheimer's Association is here to help people with Alzheimer's and any other type of dementia. So if it hasn't been diagnosed specifically as Alzheimer's yet, that's not a problem. Or if it's dementia with Lewy bodies, vascular dementia, frontotemporal dementia, or what have you, call us at the Alzheimer's Association. We're here to help. Our 24/7 nationwide phone number, our helpline, is the way that most people will access our resources, and that's 800-272-3900. We ask that you take out your smartphone and put this into your contacts so you've got that phone number when you need it, or if someone you know needs to call. Now, if you are like me and you like to let your fingers do the walking and on the keyboard, you can go to alz.org and find the same resources as the trained specialist answering the phone at our helpline will have at their fingertips. What are some of those things? Well, first of all, support groups. If you're a caregiver for a person with Alzheimer's, we strongly recommend that you consider visiting a support group. By calling our 24/7 nationwide helpline, you can find out about support groups that are in your area. You go, and a trained facilitator is going to be there. They're not going to ask you a bunch of personal questions. You can just say your name and just sit down and not say a single word your entire time there. Many people go with that in mind, but they find very quickly that, oh my gosh, these people are all talking about the same things I am going through. And they find that even if they don't share anything, even if they don't talk, they find it very, very helpful to listen to other people that are on the same journey. Education programs. Well, there's currently we have suspended our education programs in person because of the health situation, but normally you can call the helpline and find out where an Alzheimer's educator is going to be in your neighborhood, maybe at the church, a library, or a senior center. And you can find out about those and our online education programs by calling the helpline. And the other resource that many people call for is information and referrals. They want information about the disease. What is the status of treatment research, or a search for a cure? Or they want to find out where can I get a good neurologist in my area? I need in-home care. Who do you suggest? We need a residential facility. Now, it's important to understand that we do not endorse one provider over another provider. We have a very strict non-endorsement policy. So when you call the Alzheimer's Association 24/7 nationwide helpline, what's going to happen is they will give you a list of all the providers in your area and a tip sheet where you can think of, it'll help you organize your thoughts and how you can make the decision which is the best provider for you. But again, we have a non-endorsement policy. Now, if you'd like to get into all of that on your own on the computer instead of calling the helpline, communityresourcefinder.org, or you can access it at alz.org/CRF, which stands for Community Resource Finder. And that's where you'll just punch in your zip code, a search radius. I want to look at all the nursing homes within 25 miles, or I'd like to find out all of the in-home care providers within 50 miles, or support groups, or what have you. You can do that on your own at the Community Resource Finder. Now, two final things I'd like everybody to know about is alznavigator.org, first of all, which is a great resource to help you navigate the tricky waters of dealing with Alzheimer's. Now, what this does is it asks you some questions online, a little assessment, and then it says, okay, you're doing good in these areas, but you might want to be thinking about this, this, and this. And by the way, as the disease progresses, these things are going to become more important, and it's not too soon to start preparing for those now. So like a navigator on a ship or an airplane, it helps you get from here to there in the best way possible. Now, if you want to call our nationwide 24/7 helpline, you can do that, and you can set up a care navigation appointment in person or in one of our local offices. But some people like to do this on their own at the computer where they just do the assessment themselves. And finally, alzconnected.org. Now, this is very important. This is our online support community where, again, you're going to log in anonymously. You don't give your name or any identifying information that you don't want to give. And there you can go on chat boards and read posts from other people who are either persons with dementia, which is one area, or caregivers and family, which is another area of the website. And there you can share experiences, ask questions of other people who are going through the same journey as you are. So alzconnected.org is a really important resource for anybody who's dealing with dementia. And finally, our last resource is alz.org/learn. If you type in alz.org/learn, you can watch 30, 45, and 60-minute presentations to help you understand more about the disease and to help you become a more effective caregiver. That's alz.org/learn. Now I'm going to go ahead and put this back to our helpline number so that you'll know our 800-272-3900 phone number is there for you 24 hours, day or night, no matter where in the country you're located. So we've got time for a couple of questions here. Joe, the first question that we have is coconut oil, turmeric, and other supplements I've heard help with Alzheimer's. Some people say that they cure Alzheimer's. Other people say that it slows the disease down. Is there any science to back that up?
So that's a great question, and that's a question that we definitely have heard before. And the biggest thing that we go by is the research. And I personally have not seen the research in regards to that, but I can't stress enough to go see your doctor. Talk to your doctor about it because doctors are going to know you a little bit more, but they're also going to know the research that backs any claim that you want to ask. And so the biggest key is definitely go see your doctor because we do base everything off of research, and that's not research that I've seen, but definitely talk to your doctor because they are the ones that you'll want to speak to.
Yes, and just to piggyback on what Joe said, there is no research that has proven any of those claims. And if there was research that proved it, the Alzheimer's Association would be trumpeting it, believe me. The one with turmeric, or turmeric, however you pronounce that, it's one of the ingredients in curry, and allegedly there is a much lower rate of Alzheimer's and dementia in India, where this is a staple in their foods. However, we don't know if that's because in their health system fewer people are reporting Alzheimer's and dementia, fewer people have access to health care like we do, so the cases just aren't reported. And if that is the case, well, we don't know. How much do you need to take each day? Is it that they've been eating this all of their life? Is that what was given them some kind of a lower incident of dementia? If that's even the case, we don't know. So until it's been published in a peer-reviewed medical journal, and there's been a couple of studies to show conclusively, we just tell you, like Joe said, ask your doctor, because most of these food supplements are safe, but some can interfere with medication that you're taking. So start with your doctor. Well, that is about all the time we have for today. Joe Landmichael, I'd like to thank you for presenting this information to us today.
Thank you.
And thank you all for logging in. I hope that you will join us for another future webinar at alzwebinars.org. Have a great day.